Welcome back, everybody, to Awaken the Best You. I am your co-host, Anna Levin, and with us is our beautiful host, Misty Springer. Today,
Hello.
hi, Misty, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm really, really excited about this topic today.
Me too, because today we're talking about rewiring women's belief about self-care. Such a prevalent, amazing topic to talk about. So where do we begin?
I know, isn't that the truth? Where do we begin? I think we as women are constantly bombarded by this pull between taking care of ourselves and taking care of everyone else. I think that's probably one of the things that I hear the most from the clients that I work with is I don't have time to take care of myself. I'm taking care of everyone else. And in fact, I don't even really have time to go to the bathroom. I'm so busy with everything. I can hardly take the time
Yes.
to make myself sit down and eat lunch. How can I even think about going outside for a walk or making a healthy meal for myself?
Yes,
It doesn't
absolutely.
compute.
I think we can all, as moms, even I have friends that are not mothers, and they still are caregivers, beautiful caregivers. So it
Mhm.
goes beyond motherhood. Of course, motherhood is a topic in itself. And so, do you find that some of the fostered feelings that we women develop due to this, lack of self-care and caring for everybody else, sometimes we may feel resentful or angry or
Mhm.
sad, right? Out of touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And the way that I love to look at those feelings of resentment and anger, um, I love to look at those as a clue that when we are feeling that out of touch or resentment or anger, it's our body letting us know, pay attention. There's something here that you need to take a closer look at. And usually, what that thing is that we need to take a closer look at is what we believe about ourselves. Because what we believe shapes what we do. So the glasses that we have on, I call them the belief glasses. It's the lens through which we see the world. So if I'm looking through the glasses of I'm not worth taking care of myself, then I'm going to put everybody else's needs before my own. And that's how I show up. So if you want to see what your beliefs actually are, take a look at how you're showing up. And if that show up isn't feeling good, then we need to kind of work backwards. We need to reverse engineer and find what the belief is that's running the show. Because we know that what we believe um, translates into what we think translates into what we feel, and what we feel translates into how we show up. Okay,
So,
so
so our thoughts create our feelings, create our actions.
exactly.
Basically, it's that
Yes.
simple.
It's that simple. Yes, it really is. Simple, but not easy.
And let's talk about why it's not easy, because as you're sharing this with us, I'm thinking even conversations I'm having with my 15-year-old daughter who
Mhm.
wants to become a physician, for example. So she's going into a profession that is about caregiving, and she's very responsible with that calling. And yet she has an issue already at her age, distinguishing between being kind and caregiving to other people and friends, for example, and where does she fall in that equation.
Mhm.
And this is a very real, look how young as women we already have this dichotomy per se inside of ourselves. So how
Mhm.
do we, can you speak to the bringing balance to that, and what happens inside of us, and how can we rewire, right, our
Mhm.
brain and the way we feel and the way we act?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that that again comes down to what we have been conditioned to believe about ourselves. So usually what I find, especially around this topic of self-care, there's usually two beliefs that are running the show. And that's first of all that I everybody else is more worthy of love and attention than I am. That I am not worthy of receiving care. That's the first belief. The second belief that I often find is really prevalent is that my worth is dependent on how much I do. So if I'm checking off the boxes, and if I'm, going through my list and checking off all the things that I'm doing, that makes me feel of worth. The problem is that we all know that's a false sense of worth. It doesn't, there's not true worth in that. And so we end up feeling empty at the end of the day, even though our checklist is checked off. And that's because the belief needs to shift. And the belief change is really the heart of this all, because when we can change our beliefs, then we change how we show up. And so, a lot of my clients, okay, well, that sounds really great, but how do we do that? Like, how do we change this belief? And there's two ways. I like to look at it like a figure eight, like the infinity symbol almost. Okay.
Yes.
So we change our beliefs from the inside out. So we change from the belief end. We're changing our belief, which changes our thoughts, which changes our feelings, which changes how we show up. Okay. We can also change it from the outside in. Okay. And that means we change the way we think. We become really aware of what we're thinking and change those thoughts. Sometimes it's just about changing our action, the way that we show up. Like, I am going to start taking care of myself. I'm going to sit down and eat lunch instead of eating on the go. And when we start to change our actions, it changes the way that we feel. It changes the thoughts that we have about ourselves, which changes our belief. So we can change them from either side. Changing our beliefs from the inside out is the work that I love to do with my clients. It's very deep, beautiful work where we're really going back to the very first time that they have experienced this belief. And we're rewiring their brain literally to experience a different belief. We're doing beautiful change work together. That work is powerful. It's beautiful. It's life changing, because what happens is when you change that belief, you shift that belief, you're able to show up without having to remember to be different. It's just who you are.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I'm curious from your experience, how many of your clients would you say roughly are actually aware? Because I have a feeling that many people, we're not really aware or of subconscious beliefs, and so we cannot change what we don't see. Because when I hear you speak, a lot of what's clicking for me is like, oh, so we become more aware, more conscious about the way we're living life. And from that place, we can seek help with you, or we can invite ourselves to choose differently or to be differently each day.
Absolutely. And that is where it begins. I talk a lot about the invisible brick walls that we run into. And sometimes we're running into these invisible brick walls and we don't know what the brick wall is because it's invisible. We just know that our nose hurts and our head hurts because we keep running into this brick wall.
Right.
And that's the beauty, just like you were talking about before, of the resentment and the disappointment, the feeling frustrated. That's the pain that lets us know, okay, there's something here that we need to be aware of.
Yeah.
And then that's the invitation to look inside and say, okay, what are my thoughts? What are the thoughts going on right now, which lead to understanding the beliefs that we have?
Yes, it's such. I am so passionate about this topic because even in my own experience, I have gone through a huge shaking of my identity with being the feminine, beautiful caregiver that I know I am, and yet having these feelings of resentment because there was not enough time, or I wasn't making enough time for my self-care, which I also adore and crave so much. So I'm very, very, very passionate about this topic and how much more we could give. Can you imagine if a lot of us more women, we can give from a place of pure joy as opposed to like feeling shamed, right? Shameful about it. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think that the story that we tell ourselves is that I can't take care of myself because I have to take care of everyone else. And yet the misconception in that is that you can't pour from an empty cup. And we have, just like you, and me and everyone. I mean, we have beautiful divine work that we're meant to do here on this earth. It's the reason that we're here. It's the reason that we're women, and we have these gifts to give. And the lie is that you can't take care of yourself. You have to take care of everyone else. And yet that stops us from having the energy to do the work we were designed and meant to do. So in some ways, the reframe that we can take on it is really, when I take time for myself, when I recharge, and when I'm doing those activities, not because of the checkbox,
Mm-hmm.
but because I love and honor and care for myself. And when I take care of myself, when I take the time to take care of my body, to rest, to fuel correctly, to exercise, when I put those things first, then I have all the resources that I need. My cup is filled so that I can do the divine work I was meant to do here on this earth. And that's a different perspective than I think we normally look at self-care with.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so important, the work that you do, because in my experience, I was never very successful at changing by myself. I truly believe that we come into each other's lives to help each other. We don't have to do it alone. And we truly benefit from inviting someone in and saying, hey, Misty, I'm in this dichotomy here in my life, and I'm really hurting, and I feel guilty, and I feel like, just to have someone that you can trust and is not going to judge you, and it's just going to love you, but also is going to have the tools like you have to walk us through this changing our habits and feelings and thoughts, so that we can have a more fulfilling existence, I think is just so crucial. And I would love for your listeners to, hear that, that you don't have to do it alone. So what are some of the like, if somebody doesn't know if they're, hurting, or they want to change like this, what are some of the things that they can look for in a day-to-day basis?
Oh yeah, great question. It goes back to the pain. It really, I mean, it really does come back to where are you showing up that feels frustrating? Where are you not following through with what you said you were going to do? Where are you breaking the promises that you made to yourself? That's that invisible brick wall that you're running into. And that's where we can take a look and go a little deeper. The first step, I would say, is when you've experienced a pain, it's awareness, just like you were talking about before. That awareness allows us to say, oh, look, there it is. I'm feeling disappointment right now. I'm feeling resentment right now. Now let's take a step backwards. That's the feeling piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take a step backwards. Let's look at the thoughts. The thoughts here are, I don't deserve, I'm not getting any help. Everybody, I have to take care of everybody else, and I have to do it all by myself. And then we can do the reframe, which is that true? We can challenge that. Is that really true? Or is that something that I have created? And can I think differently about that?
I love it. I can actually relate to that one right there. I'm very hands-on. I'm very strong and a go-getter, and I'm very efficient. My masculine side, I'm very feminine, but then my masculine side is super, go, go, go. And then I'm exhausted. So I love that questioning that. Where is it coming from? And how can I do it differently? And the truth of the matter is, we have to have the courage to look at how we are operating in order for something to change. And the truth is, some of us women, we are taking it all in when we could ask for help, right? Or if our children are of a certain age, we can bring them in, which is what I'm guilty of. It's like, no, I'll do it. I love doing it. Right. But then, 16 years later, we are still tying shoes. No.
Yeah. Well, and like you were saying, it's also looking at the end of the day and saying, where am I exhausted? If I'm exhausted and don't have anything left to give, then I need to take a look at what I can do differently, so that I can show up in the way that I'm meant to show up. And the tools, like the thoughts, that's a lot of the work that I do with my clients, is we're looking very specifically at the thoughts and the behaviors that they're stuck in, that are creating this feeling of exhaustion and resentment and disappointment that they're experiencing at the end of the day.
Right.
So it's very individualized. We have to look at each individual person, and see what are the thoughts. There's a model that I take my clients through that allows them to get quiet and to ground and to really think about this and get connected to the woman that they know in their heart they're meant to be.
Yeah.
And then from there, they're able to look at their thoughts and say, how can I reshift or rewire
Right.
this thinking so that I can get a different result?
I love that. I think it's so important. Again, like just to reiterate, that's the conversation I have with myself, the conversation I'm having with my teenage daughter already, because I want her to come into womanhood, with more tools than our generation, right, had. And a lot of that, I believe, is learning to go inside as opposed to having a checklist, like you're saying, and, feeling like you accomplished so much, and yet you're still out of touch with yourself. You're still out of balance. And I think that's beautiful work. It's not only necessary, it's almost like crucial. So Misty, I love the work. I love this conversation. I could talk to you for hours, but we have to close it up. And I would like for you to share with the audience, how can they get in touch with you? How can they get to know you even more? How can they find you?
Yeah, well, I would love to get to know my audience. It's something that I'm passionate about. I love helping women really get to that core center, to get quiet, to let go of all the noise and the distractions that say do and go, and find your enoughness in your to-do list. I love helping women find that enoughness right at their core, right at their center, and be able to rely on that and believe that versus all the noise of I'm not enough. And it's amazing the shifts that happen in women's lives in how they take care of themselves and how they show up in the world, fulfilling their purpose when they can connect to that center.
Beautiful.
That core. So I would love to connect with women who are ready to do that. I have several ways: Facebook, Instagram, Misty Springer Wellness. You can find me there. Would love to connect with you there. I have also my website, mistyspringer.com, and on there's opportunities to click on newsletters and to get in touch with me. Or one of the things that I love to do is to give back, and I offer a 45-minute consultation to just have a conversation to find out what are those brick walls that you're running into. What are those thoughts that are keeping you from being the woman you know in your heart you're meant to be? What are those where's the pain that's showing up for you, and how do we trace that back to the beliefs that you have?
Beautiful.
So that I offer as a complimentary session. It's available. You can go onto my website and scroll down to the bottom. There's a box to sign up for that, or you can just message me on Facebook or Instagram.
That's beautiful. I love it. Thank you so, so much. I hope people just really jump in from a person that has been healing myself and looking for, so much self-help for the past, especially 6-7 years. I highly recommend it. This is a journey. This is not like a one, time thing, but they get to taste you for a little bit. And I really hope that people jump in if it's in your heart, if you know that this is something for you, that they reach out to you, Misty, and benefit from your love and knowledge too. So
thank you so much. Really
I enjoyed our conversation, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.